Hey everyone, back for day 2. I hope you enjoyed the first episode as much as I did making it. I actually really enjoyed that. It was a nice way to share the comings and goings, and I'd like to think that there were some nice and interesting things discussed. And I think we might have some more interesting things to talk about today, because today's the day after Mother's Day, and I actually got called yesterday, and I'm feel very blessed to, as crazy as what I'm about to share is, I feel very blessed that I don't take it for granted that I did get called about what I'm about to say. So I got called yesterday morning by the mother of one of my clients. So one of my clients, usually the guys that I work with are more or less in their 30s, late 20s, 30s, 40s. Every now and then I do get teenagers, where their parents have sent them to me. So I get a call from the mother that they also have a daughter in the family. The daughter is in year 12. I get a call. She's in hospital because she tried to take her own life. And thank God she's all right. Thank God, thank God. And the mother's basically said, Dim, look, could you talk to my son, just check in on him or whatever. And I actually just went over to their house on the Sunday afternoon, spent time with the son, with the family, with the daughter. Most important thing is she's well. And what I thought I might share in this video is that topic, the nature of what we spoke about, definitely one that I've interacted with many times, and it's something that in the last video I mentioned that my best friend died at the end of last year, and that was because he killed himself. The year before that, my fiance at the time and I had broken up in January, and in around July she ended up in hospital because she tried to take her own life, and I had to go through the process of not going in there to save the day. It's impossible, because it's someone that you really care about, and this is what's happening to them. But then if you go in and save the day, it doesn't really help them, in the long term, because we broke up for a reason. So I trust you understand. And it is indeed something that I've interacted, I've had to work through, and I don't think I'll ever go back to that place. Furthermore, I have a very close friend here in Sydney who very famous in Sydney as well, and last year I checked in on him many evenings, many weekdays, and in some days I talked him off a ledge. So what I thought would be of value is to share some of the things that helped me get through that stuff, if that's valuable to you. Some of the things that I shared with these people, and who knows, ultimately it's in God's hands, right? It's not in mine, what happens with it. So in terms of my own experience, and I will just do the little disclaimer here and say, ultimately, I'm not a mental health, I'm not certified by the government to do this video, and please do reach out through the government channels, and take this video as entertainment purposes only. So, in terms of my own journey through all of this, I, as I mentioned in the last video, ages 14 to 21 is when, for me, every winter I was dealing with this. And it just got so bad. The pain was so intense, and you just want the pain to end. And looking back, I realized there's the there's the content that the pain associates itself with, you know, like, oh, it's about the HSC, it's about not getting this girl, it's about this, it's about that. But I think you can also but then there's just the feeling that you're dealing with, you know. You're just dealing with the actual you're just dealing with the actual like intensity of this pain, and you just want this pain to go away. And you know, at a certain point, sometimes you can end up just thinking, fuck, like this is the only strategy I got, like I just want it to end, you know. And sometimes it is actually hard to think of like relatives or whomever, you know, to stay for. So in truth, I really do feel like I was blessed by angels to get through that time. But in actual fact, yeah, you know, like I remember like being in year 10 and just fucking wanting to end it, you know. And I remember like the Rage, which is like, was this music video show on in Australian TV, yeah, and it was on at like 12 a.m. midnight, and it was the song "Keep Your Head Up" by Tupac. You know, that was like when I first got into Tupac. I was 14, and I remember like listening to that song, and that song like really just like helped me, like just that, like listening to that song, and it really felt like someone understood what I was going through, and he was just saying, hey, just keep your head up. But I think, I don't know, honestly, I got to times where I like really like planned it and really just took it down to like a lot of detail. And honestly, like, I don't know how I got through that time. I feel like I was saved by angels, you know. I just somehow kept on going on. And I remember that when I was 21 is when it got really bad, like to the point that I had dealt with it for so long, freaking like 7 years. And every winter, and I remember like when I was 21, there was this girl that I, you know, was like best friends with since we were 14, and like I fell in love with her, and I knew that she didn't like me back. I wanted to be an aeronautical engineer, and I was dropping out because it's obviously very hard, you know. I wanted to be a fighter pilot. That was not going to work out because I was used to get airsick. So it just felt to me at that time that all the shit that I wanted in my life was not going to happen. And I'm going to share a few things that helped me through. Last episode I spoke about how I saw the Donate Blood Red Cross van. I think it's worth resharing this story in this video. Like, I saw that van and I remember just going, you know what, man, like, fuck it, I will give up. I will give up on my life. I'll give up on all the things that I want. But that doesn't mean that I can't be useful. Like, why don't I just, like, because I asked the question, what is the point of staying alive? And I just thought, you know what, maybe I won't get all these things that I want, but it's still worth staying alive to be useful. I think I still, and if you're out there and you can connect to this, I feel like at that rock bottom moment, call it, which is really like one of your strongest moments when you look back. But in that rock bottom moment, it really was like, I still felt like my life had worth. Even if I couldn't get the shit that I wanted, and even though I was going through all this shit, it was like, even like, you know, like now that I look back, I'm just like call it, say it's the devil, right? Like, I don't really believe in that, but like, I'm just using it at least as a metaphor. Like, I'm still saying fuck you to the devil, you know? I'm still saying, you know what, motherfucker, like, even if you're going to take everything else away from me, like, I'm still just not going down without a fight. I still, even if I don't get to achieve all the things that I think I want, I still got shit to do here, you know? And I think like that develops like this mentality, this beast in you, that's a different level of your different layer of your personality, which is an incredible asset. it was just like, fuck you, man. Like, even if I don't get anything, I'm still like, I'm just not going down. Like, you'll have to like try and take it from me yourself, because I'm not doing it. Like, I'm gonna fucking find a, like, I've still got something to give. And I think there's insane strength in that, if you can find that within yourself. So that was like the first thing, you know, the donating blood thing. The second thing, I remember specifically when I was in the army, there was this one dude that I could feel it, like he knew, he had gone through it. He knew what I was feeling. He knew it. And we didn't want to admit it to each other, but he understood it. I remember. And I asked him, bro, how do you get through those times where it doesn't make sense? How do you get through those times where, like, you don't, you know, you can't find an answer? You can't. How do you, if you can't find the way out, how do you get through those times? Fuck, sorry, I'm just like battling down emotions, like when I'm sharing this message, because it is real, man. And I remember his name is David, and David's like, Dim, you just got to go on. You just got to go on, man. Even when nothing makes sense, even when you don't know the answer, even when you don't know what you're gonna do, you just got to go on. And I actually found that very beneficial, because I was like, it was like, yep. Even if I cannot make any sense in my mind, even if I cannot find the answer, just got to go on. And over time, I've come up with like this little metaphor of what these rock bottom times can feel like, and I think it's a very, very handy metaphor. You know, when you are at these, like, I'm trying to avoid using the word that starts with S, right? But just because I might get fucked off by YouTube, so that's why I'm just dancing around that word. But I think everyone knows what I'm trying to communicate, right? So when you're at these rock bottom times, the way I equate it is like on the grass, you fall flat on your face. Can you imagine, right? Like, let's say you're walking through this gorgeous mountain range, just gorgeous valleys and gorgeous scenery, forest, mountains, valleys, all of this shit, right? Let's say you're walking through all this shit and then you fall flat on your face. When you are flat on your face, are you able to see the mountains, the valleys, the forest through the forest through the trees? Can you see it? Can you see the grand design, the grand orchestrating design? Can you see the GOD, grand orchestrating design? Can you see it? When you've fallen flat on your face, you cannot, right? When you've fallen flat on your face, all you can see is the blade of grass in front of you. Would you agree? So what I've come to realize for myself personally is, like, if all you can see is the blade of grass that is in front of you, understand that's what comes with the territory of having fallen flat on your face. And that means that, yes, you are not going to be able to see the bigger picture, and you won't be able to see the answer when you are flat on your face. So the priority is to first get up, because when you get up, you can see further. You can see more answers. You can understand the picture. And as you start to walk and eventually run and eventually fly, then yes, you can see the bigger picture then. And when you are flying, then you can have gratitude for this whole fucking situation that you've got, because you can see the bigger picture, right? But you can't do that shit when you're flat on your face. So when you are flat on your face, don't fucking worry if all you can see is a blade of grass and don't make that mean that your situation is helpless. Does that make sense? Like, I hope it does. I think it does. Right? Don't just, if you're flat on your face and all you can see is a blade of grass, that doesn't mean that your situation is helpless. It just means that you're flat on your face. I remember like Uncle Tony Robbins, he had a moment like this. I'm sure he has had many, especially in his early life. But in one of his early moments where he was at rock bottom, Uncle Tony shares that what helped him get out of it was he had a lucky break. And I believe he decided, like basically someone that owed him money, it's a very beautiful story actually. He only had like a few dollars left, and he was in an all-you-can-eat buffet, and he basically went to this all-you-can-eat buffet because he wanted to load up on as much food as possible so he can survive for a few more days with an empty stomach. Poor bugger. And he saw this young man walk in with his mum, and he saw how beautifully the young man was treating his mum. And Tony, so moved by this young man, was like, you know what, I'm gonna give you the money to pay for your mum's meal. He didn't go and try to pick up the mum, even though I'm sure like a lot of people thought that. Even Tony said he thought that at the time. But he's like, no, it's not about that. It's about acknowledging the good in the world. So he pays for the meal. He gives the kid the money to pay for the meal. And then somehow, by some beautiful grace, when Tony gets home, someone that owed Tony like a couple of grand paid him back. And Tony, was like, man, the secret of living is giving. Even myself on my own journey, before I even know who Tony Robbins was, I found that myself donating blood, And Tony decides to go for a run. And he's living near, I believe, Venice Beach, California. So he goes to the beach and he's got a Walkman, right? And he plays this one, and he just has this one song over and over again because it's like the 80s or 90s. And Tony goes for a run. And what he does by going for a run is he has picked himself off the ground where his feet are facing the ground, like where he's, where he was facing rock bottom, where his face was in the grass before. He picks himself off the ground and starts going for a run. And what it does, if you believe in like Chinese medicine, I shouldn't even use the word believe, if you've learnt about Chinese medicine, it's like pumping the qi, circulating the energy through your body, circulating the endorphins, whatever science you want to use to dissect it. Tony starts to circulate the energy through his body, and lo and behold, he starts to feel better. And as he feels better, he starts to think, you know what, maybe I can do X, maybe he can do Y, maybe I can actually, he starts to have a different perspective on his situation, one that is actually encouraging, whereas before he was just face down in the grass. So in the same way, if that's you, that's my encouragement to you. It's just recognizing where you're at and recognizing like what step can you do now to just at least make yourself change your perspective. Because recognize when you are happy, this is an important lesson actually. It's called state, changing your state. Your state is like your energy, it's like your body, it's like what you're doing with your body, it's your mood. Do you notice like even during the hard times, when you somehow get into a good mood, you stop worrying and your thoughts are kind of like, nah, it'll be all right, blah, 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 right? It's only when you get into a bad state, that's it. The state is almost like a radio. It's like the radio frequency, and depending on your state is the thoughts that you hear. Does that make sense? So when you change your state, and the way to change your state, there's three, but a big piece is moving your body. One of them is moving your body. Another one is what you're choosing to focus on. Is it the solution or is it the problem? And the other one is the meaning or the story that you're creating of it, the whole situation. And what I wanted to do with that analogy of the face flat in the grass, that is I'm trying to give you a different meaning, a different way to perceive that. Yeah, and when you have that different meaning, I'd like to think hopefully it helps you feel a little bit better, right? Because it can help you make sense of the situation, right? So that's meaning. What you choose to focus on, I tried to give you that as well through that story, which is like, can you focus on, you know what, like, I need to just get myself up and moving, as opposed to stay in this mood. Because if I stay in this mood, of course, all I'm going to hear is these shitty thoughts, right? And then finally, what we do with our body. Of course, like, you know, depression has a physiology. You know, if I said behind curtain number 1 is someone who's depressed, behind curtain number 2 is someone who is joyful, behind curtain number 3 is someone who is meditative, number 4 is someone who's confident. You already know there's a different physiology, a different way that their body is set up, right? So our physiology is like a hack to change the way that we feel and to change our mood and to change our state. So with that metaphor, that's, I guess, you know, I remember like for me personally, even donating blood, I started to go, you know what, like I found a meaning for life. Why don't I at least keep myself fit and healthy so I can continue to donate blood? So what did that lead me to do? Start to go to the gym. When I did that, I started to change my state. I started to feel better. And I just remember what David said, you just got to keep going. Just got to keep going on. So those were the initial things that helped me get through that period. And I'm just trying to think if there was anything else. I would say, yeah, man, the biggest one was just fucking having a reason, having a almost fuck you middle finger to the devil, going, you know what, man, even if I don't get nothing, I still got a reason to be here. Here's the last one. All of this led me to making a decision. And here's the true meaning of the word decision. It comes from the word incision. Incision means to cut, right? So decision, means there's two options, D, right? Dialect. That's what the word D is. And incision means to cut. So a decision means you're cutting off one of those two possibilities. So somewhere in this, I made a decision to take the S word off the table. Like, ending it is not an option for me anymore. Why? Why is ending it not an option for me anymore? Because I don't want to. I'm just not a quitter. Like, it's my identity. I'm not someone who gives up. I'll always, like, I believe I have a purpose. Like, I believe that. Sorry, I'm just pivoting around because I've just got people all around me here. Side note, if you ever want to try vlogging like this, you should. It's a good exercise in just learning how to own yourself. And, you know, a lot of people don't have the balls to just speak to a camera like this while all these other motherfuckers are watching you. But it's a good one. It's a good one. Anyway, another piece of meaning I'd like to leave you with, and I'd say this is important. You know, when you're feeling really rock bottom, it's like there's something is trying to die. That's the actual truth. Something is trying to die, but here's what people don't understand. It's your life story. It's your identity that needs to die, or is trying to die. Your identity is not working out for you. Your life story is not working out for you. But just because your basically it's your mind. But just because your mind has to die, your body does not have to be harmed. Yeah, just because your mind wants to die, it doesn't mean your body has to die. When we're so orientated to our mind and we think our mind is all there is, but the thing is, this is what a true ego death, a dark night of the soul, like a rebirth is. you are ending an old identity. You're saying bye to an old identity. You're like, you know what? So for me, because I can't speak for you, but for me, the old identity I had was like, this guy that wanted to just settle down with this girl that he knew from high school and just kind of be a corporate aeronautical engineer and all that stuff. That's what I thought I wanted, man. But bro, understand this. If my destiny had been what I wanted it to have been, I wouldn't have had the destiny that I'm proud to have received. Yeah? If I had grown up to be the man that I thought I wanted to become, I would never have become the man I'm proud to be. Yeah? What has actually happened to me because I didn't get the destiny that I thought I wanted, because I didn't become the man with the wife I thought I wanted, I actually got the things that I'm much more proud to have. And I feel like, the road that I've gone down, I've helped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. I've walked people off edges. I've in my own way, I've lived thus far a very, very, very fulfilling life that fills me with fire, even when I think about it. And I just couldn't comprehend it at that age, at 21, at 14, at whatever. I couldn't comprehend it then. And so it's like my subconscious mind needed that version of me to die, needed those stories to die. And that's okay. It doesn't mean your body needs to be harmed for you to let go of that old identity, of those old stories. Does that make sense? And that's my invitation to you. It's to reframe this rock bottom place as not a physical death, just an ego death. Just the death of who you thought you wanted to be, which is really fucking hard. Like let's just call it a spade. That's fucking so hard. I understand. And it's not, I've been through it plenty of times, and it won't be the last time. And the next time it's going to be so shit as well. But you just got to go on. As my boy David said to me, you just got to go on. And slowly, 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 God gives you the new pieces. I encourage you, if you're in that place, to think about what does give you a sense of energy at doing. What does give you a sense of energy at doing? Yeah, what does give you a sense of energy at doing? Because those things are indicators of a truer layer of purpose. David Dieter says our purpose is like concentric circles, right? So you have these outer layers of purpose, which are typically like reactions to our voids growing up. They say, John DeMartini says, our voids become our values. So often we have like these lesser purposes, which is kind of like as we're growing up, for example, example that he says is, let's say that your father was a firefighter. So maybe initially you want to be a firefighter, or in reaction to him, you want to become an arsonist. Either way, you're living out like an outer circle. But eventually, like the lessons you're meant to learn from that purpose is done. And then you're kind of good to move to the next one. But then you go through this period of feeling purposeless, which is really shit. But as I mentioned, I believe in the previous video, what can help is just asking yourself the question, like, what does give me a sense of energy at the thought of doing? For me, initially it was going to Africa and building those homes. But really what these things were indicators of was doing something where I felt like I was contributing more. But it's, as Steve Jobs says, it's a lot easier to join the dots looking back. Hard to join them looking forward. So I hope thus far through this video, like I've conveyed a whole bunch of different tools that might be helpful to you in reframing these hard places. Don't make it an option. It's just not an option. Through those hard times where it doesn't make sense, you just got to go on. And maybe the whole fuck you to the devil thing is useful to you, maybe it's not. But for me, I just believe at a deep level I've got something to give. Even if nothing in my life works out, I still believe I still got something to give. And I think there will be a lot of people out there who are really thankful that I made that decision. Be around people that can recognize your value, and that's a whole journey in itself. And sometimes you have to go through shit like this for you to appreciate the value of that lesson, which I don't judge, because I had to do that. Like, if those people don't appreciate your value, that's okay. It doesn't mean anything on them or on you. It just means it's the wrong match. Anyway, in terms of what I shared to that very sweet girl that I met, I tried, to convey some of this, but what I also tried to convey was just a sense of acceptance and love and non-judgment. I just, just wanted her to feel like everything's going to be all right. I think important thing to learn, a really important skill to learn, is to learn just how to hold space for people. Hold space means to recognize that sometimes words don't need to be said, but just your presence and non-judgment and love, and just even going, bro, I don't understand, but I do love you and I want to be with you, even if I don't know what to say. That's what holding space is. It's just being there with them, without judging, without making it wrong, without feeling like, because even the thing of like, fuck, I need to do this, I need to do that, that's making the current situation wrong. Sometimes holding space is going, bro, yeah, I'm sure there's always going to be things to do, bro, I understand that, but can we just have a moment for us to sit together, and just for you to know I love you, and even if I don't understand you, I'm with you. That's what holding space is. Anyway, that was my Sunday. How's that for a real day in the life? I booked tickets to, it's been quite a year so far. I've booked tickets to go to my favorite place in the world, Bali, Ubud, which is where I'm heading in about 48 hours, which is dope. So I dare say the next video may even be from Bali. But I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you know of anyone that might be going through this hard time, maybe it's worth sending this episode to them. Alright, I love you all. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.